I don't really know when I became the kind of woman who could hurt her husband and pretend everything was fine. I used to think cheating wives were a different breed, cold, selfish, broken in ways I could never be. But here I am, telling you the truth that I've been running from for months. I cheated on my husband, and somewhere deep inside, even before he found out, I knew I was destroying him. What hurts the most is that he never stopped loving me.
He didn't change. I did.
And instead of admitting something was wrong with me, I made him my target. I chipped away at the man who spent years building me up. It started so small you wouldn't even call it cruelty. Just a joke here, a comment there. He'd talk about something he was proud of and I'd roll my eyes. He'd tell a story, and I'd interrupt to fix his details. People would laugh. He would pretend it didn't bother him. But I saw it. That tiny flicker of hurt in his eyes. And I ignored it every time. I told myself I was just teasing, that he was being too sensitive, that it was normal. But I think deep down, I liked the feeling of control. I liked knowing he'd never push back, no matter what I said. When my sister laughed at one of my jokes about him, something inside me felt validated. Like I was the clever one, the charming one, the one everyone liked. He was the safe one, the quiet one, the man who never made me feel threatened. And maybe that's where everything went wrong. When I met Derek at the gym, it wasn't fireworks or lust or some cinematic affair. It was something much uglier: attention. The kind of attention you only crave when you've forgotten your own worth. He looked at me like I was desirable. He flirted in ways I hadn't felt in years. He made me feel powerful again. And I convinced myself I deserved it. The first message wasn't even dirty. It was stupid. Just him complimenting how insane my progress was and how good I looked leaving the gym one evening. I should have laughed it off. I should have blocked him. I should have gone home and told my husband that I was feeling insecure and needed him. Instead, I replied. And that reply was the first real betrayal. A week later, we were texting daily, inside jokes, flirty one-liners, things I told myself were harmless because we hadn't crossed any physical line yet. But emotionally, I was gone. I felt desired in a way that stabbed at something rotten inside me. My husband would ask how my day was, and I'd give him the bare minimum because I had already dumped my real feelings into my phone with another man. The night I met Derek in his car behind the gym, that was the night the last piece of me I respected died. I remember sitting there afterward, staring at myself in the rearview mirror, seeing mascara smudged under my eyes and this haunted, empty expression. I didn't feel sexy. I didn't feel alive. I felt dirty and scared. But even that didn't stop me. I kept going back. I kept lying. I kept disrespecting my husband to his face. I kept telling myself it wasn't that serious, that my husband would never find out, that Derek actually cared. I didn't realize how far gone I was until the night that everything cracked. My husband and I were at dinner with friends. He was telling a story, something harmless, something he was proud of, and I cut him off again. Everyone laughed. I did too. Only this time he didn't. He just went quiet, and I felt something cold settle into my stomach. He looked at me in a way he'd never looked at me before. Not angry. Not hurt.
Just done.
And that scared me more than anything. Then one of our friends joked that if he had to name my worst habit, what would it be? And he didn't laugh. He didn't shrug it off. He didn't join the joke like he usually did. He just said, maybe I should show everyone. I swear my blood turned to ice. The smile froze on my face. I didn't even know what he meant, but something inside me knew he wasn't bluffing. I tried to laugh it off, but he wasn't playing along anymore. When he said, "Well, I've been working late. Someone else has been spending evenings in places that aren't the gym," my heart stopped. No one else at that table understood what he meant, but I did. I felt the world tilt under me. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. He didn't say anything else. He didn't accuse me. He didn't shout or make a scene. He just let the silence swallow us whole. And for the first time since my affair started, I felt real fear. The car ride home was suffocating. Every second felt like my skin was peeling off. When he finally pulled over and looked at me, really looked at me, I felt naked in a way Derek never made me feel. He told me he wasn't laughing anymore. He told me I'd been cutting him down for months. He told me he knew. I tried lying. I tried crying. I tried telling him he was overreacting. But he just stared at me with this dead calm that made me want to scream. When we got home, he didn't yell. He didn't throw anything. He didn't accuse or demand. He walked into his office, closed the door, and left me alone with every horrible thing I'd ever done. I paced for hours, checking the door every few minutes, waiting for him to come out and confront me. He didn't. He didn't say a single word to me all night. And somehow that silence was worse than any fight we could have had. The next morning, my life ended with a single notification sound. He sent screenshots. All of them.
To me.
To my sister. To my best friend. To 2 people from the dinner. When I opened the photos, my messages, my emojis, my can't wait to see you, my she's asleep replies, I felt my chest cave in. I started shaking so hard I dropped my phone.
My sister called me.
My best friend texted me. People asked if it was real. If I really said those things. If I really cheated on the man who worshipped me. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't speak. My whole body went numb. I ran into his office, crying, begging, apologizing, but he just looked at me like I was a stranger.
You ruined this, he said.
Not shouting. Not angry. Just truth. You ruined us. That was the moment I realized I hadn't just cheated on him. I had broken something in him that would never be repaired. And for the first time, since everything started, I felt the weight of what I'd done crush me completely. This is where my real downfall began. When I say everything fell apart in a single morning, I'm not exaggerating. 1 second, I was a woman desperately trying to pretend my life was still manageable, and the next, I was standing in the middle of my living room with my phone buzzing nonstop, my reputation collapsing in real time. My husband didn't look triumphant. There was no satisfaction on his face, no vengeance I could point to and call cruel. And somehow that made it hurt more. He wasn't trying to punish me. He was simply done protecting me. His calm was the loudest thing in the room. I remember sinking to the floor, my legs weak, staring at the screenshots he had sent to everyone. My words, my flirting, my pictures, my pathetic attempts to feel something outside my marriage, all laid out with timestamps. No comments, no explanation, just the truth. I begged him to talk to me. He didn't move, didn't raise his voice, didn't even turn to face me fully. You spent months embarrassing me publicly, he said quietly. I owed you the truth publicly. And God, that hit me harder than anything Derek ever made me feel. He walked out of the room after that, leaving me sobbing on the hardwood floor, surrounded by the shattered pieces of the life I had taken for granted. I don't remember how long I stayed there. Time didn't feel real anymore. At some point, I saw a text from Derek, the man who helped me blow up my marriage with nothing but charm and lies. We should stop talking for now. Too much drama. Sorry. That was it. No loyalty, no guilt, not even a fake apology, just a casual dismissal. I threw my phone across the room and screamed into the empty house. Not for Derek, for myself, for realizing I had risked everything for a man who wouldn't even stand beside me when things got real. But the worst moment came when my sister showed up at the door. She didn't hug me. She didn't comfort me.
She didn't ask if I was okay.
She just said, "How could you?" I wanted to be defensive. I wanted to scream that she didn't understand, that my marriage hadn't been perfect, that I'd been lonely, that Jason wasn't expressive enough, that I made a mistake. But every excuse died in my throat, because none of it mattered. None of it justified the person I had become. My sister didn't stay long. She just told me to get myself together and left. And when that door closed behind her, I felt something inside me collapse completely. I went to our bedroom. My husband's side of the closet was empty. I still remember that exact feeling. It was like the air had been ripped from my lungs. He hadn't slammed doors or screamed or thrown accusations at me. He had simply left. Quietly, decisively. There was a note on the dresser. "I'll send someone for the rest of my things." Don't contact me. No goodbye. No anger. Just finality. I collapsed on our bed and cried until my eyes swelled shut. I tried calling him. He didn't pick up. I texted him paragraphs, apologies, explanations, desperate promises, but the messages stayed unread. The next few days blurred together. I barely slept. I barely ate. I kept replaying every moment of the last year, every joke I made about him, every lie, every time I walked through the door with another man's scent on my clothes. I started realizing something I had been avoiding for far too long. I didn't cheat because my husband wasn't enough. I cheated because I wasn't enough. Because I didn't know how to handle being loved so gently. Because I mistook stability for boredom. Because I chased validation like an addict instead of facing my own emptiness. And now the man who once looked at me like I was the best part of his life couldn't even look at me at all. Eventually, a mutual friend reached out. You know the type, the one who pretends they're neutral while clearly picking a side. He told me my husband was staying with his brother and that he was doing better. The words stabbed me. I wanted him to be devastated. I wanted him to miss me. I wanted him to be angry enough to argue, to fight, to give us some twisted chance at saving what we had. But doing better meant one thing. He was healing, but I wasn't part of that healing. A week later, I saw him again for the first time since he left. I was sitting in our kitchen, staring at the cold coffee I hadn't touched, when I heard the front door open. He walked in with a friend to get the rest of his things. He didn't look at me. Not once. He didn't acknowledge I was even in the room. They packed everything in quiet efficiency, while I sat there frozen, watching my marriage disappear piece by piece. I wanted to talk. I wanted to apologize again. I wanted to beg. I wanted to throw myself at his feet and tell him I was still the woman he married, even though we both knew that wasn't true anymore. When he was leaving, I finally forced the words out. Can we talk? Please.
He stopped. Not fully.
Just enough for me to hope. And hope is cruel.
We'll talk soon, he said.
Legally. It felt like someone had punched the air out of my lungs. Jason, please. But he was already out the door. I ran to the window and watched him get into the truck, watched him close the door gently, watched him leave without looking back at me. That was the moment I realized the affair wasn't the end of my marriage. His silence was. A few days later, I received an envelope in the mail. His name. His lawyer's name. Divorce papers. I didn't even cry at first. I just stared at them, numb. Then the panic hit me like a tidal wave. The idea of being divorced wasn't what broke me. It was the reality that he wanted it. That he wasn't hesitating. That he wasn't trying to work through it. That he didn't see a future where I could ever be forgiven. And he was right. I wasn't the woman he married anymore. I was someone I didn't recognize. Someone cruel. Someone selfish. Someone broken. I signed the papers with shaking hands. And after the envelope left my grip, I sobbed in a way I don't think I ever had before, loud, ugly, desperate cries that echoed through the empty house. I had betrayed him. I had humiliated him. I had destroyed everything. But the part one regret most? He didn't destroy me back. He didn't yell or call me names or throw my mistakes in my face. His revenge wasn't loud. It was the quiet, unshakable certainty that he deserved better than me. It was the silence that replaced his love. The divorce wasn't the end of my consequences. Only the beginning. And the worst part is, I didn't lose my husband to another woman or another failure. I lost him to the truth. People think the worst moment of cheating is when your partner finds out. They're wrong. The worst moment is every morning after that, when you wake up and remember you destroyed your own life with your own hands. The divorce papers didn't magically fix anything. They weren't closure. They were a reminder of how badly I had damaged the one person who always chose me. And once they were gone from my hands, I realized I had nothing left to hold on to, not him, not our life, not even the version of myself I used to respect. After he moved out, the house didn't feel empty. It felt haunted. Every corner reminded me of something I ruined. His coffee mug in the kitchen. The dent in the couch where he liked to sit. the soft indent on his pillow that still carried the faint scent of him. I stopped sleeping on our bed. It hurt too much. I started sleeping on the couch, telling myself it was temporary, but deep down I knew I didn't deserve the comfort of our bed anymore. Friends stopped calling. Family stopped checking in. My sister, who used to talk to me almost every day, barely sent me a single message a week. People don't say it aloud, but they judge a cheating wife far harsher than a cheating husband. Maybe because they expect women to know better. Maybe because they see a wife's betrayal as something colder, more intentional. Maybe because they're right. I stopped going to the gym entirely. I couldn't walk in without feeling sick. The thought of seeing Derek, whether he ignored me or smiled at me, made my stomach twist in knots. I blocked him on everything, not because I wanted to be noble, but because I hated myself for ever wanting his attention. He didn't reach out. He moved on effortlessly. And that was another humiliation layered on top of the mess I had created. The real pain came a month after the divorce filing, when we met for the final signatures. I hadn't seen him since he took his belongings, and I had convinced myself that maybe, just maybe, he would look at me differently now. Maybe time had softened him. Maybe regret had opened a small door somewhere. I wore the nicest dress I owned. I did my hair. I did my makeup twice because the first attempt was ruined by crying. I wanted to look like the woman he married, even though I knew that version of me was long gone. He walked into the lawyer's office looking calm, collected, stable. He looked better, healthier, clearer, stronger. And I instantly hated myself for noticing. He didn't even hesitate before sitting down, opening the folder and signing the final documents. His hands didn't shake. His voice didn't waver. He didn't pause to look at me, but I couldn't take my eyes off him. I kept waiting for him to look up, even just once, to acknowledge the years we spent together, the life we built, the promises we made. But he kept his gaze on the paperwork, as if I were nothing more than a stranger sitting across from him. When it was my turn to sign, my fingers trembled so badly I could barely hold the pen. I don't know how long it took. I don't know if I even signed my name neatly. All I knew was that the moment my pen lifted, our marriage officially ended.
I wanted to speak.
I wanted to apologize one last time, even if it changed nothing. But before I could form a single word, he quietly closed the folder, stood from his chair, and said something I will hear in my nightmares for the rest of my life. Take care of yourself. Not goodbye. Not I hope you heal. Not maybe someday. Just take care of yourself. That was the exact moment I realized the full weight of his revenge. He had healed enough to walk away, but not enough to look back. He left the office without once meeting my eyes. And that's when it hit me. He wasn't punishing me anymore. He was simply letting me go. After that day, everything spiraled. The starts of divorce depression aren't dramatic. They're quiet. You stop cooking because eating feels pointless. You stop cleaning because there's no one to see the mess. You avoid mirrors because you don't recognize the face staring back at you. I went through entire days without speaking a word, not because I wanted silence, but because I had no one left to talk to. The house I once loved became a cage. I reread our old messages at night, clinging to every sweet line he ever wrote me, torturing myself with memories of how deeply he used to care. I scrolled through our wedding photos until my vision blurred. I whispered apologies to empty rooms. I wished I could go back in time. I wished I had been honest about my insecurities. I wished I had never let another man near me. I wished I had never laughed at my husband's expense. I wished for everything except the life I had now. Then one day, my sister visited again. I hadn't expected her, and I could tell the moment she saw me that I didn't look like myself. My clothes hung loose. My eyes were constantly red. The house was dim and cluttered. She asked me when I had last eaten. I couldn't remember. She sat me down and said softly, "You need to get help." But I shook my head. I didn't need a therapist. I didn't need a doctor. I didn't need medication. What I needed was the man I had driven away. I told her that. I told her everything. I cried into her lap like a broken child. And she said something I wasn't ready to hear. "He's not coming back, Mara." I broke.
Completely.
My sobs were so loud I'm sure the neighbors heard them. My chest hurt so badly, I couldn't breathe. It felt like drowning in regret. Because she was right. He wasn't coming back. He wasn't hesitating.
He wasn't second-guessing.
He wasn't secretly hoping I'd change. He was gone. The weeks after that were worse than the initial shock. They were colder, more real. I saw him once at a grocery store, and my heart jumped so violently I thought I'd faint. He didn't see me at first, and for a moment, I watched him from a distance like a stranger. He looked happy. Genuinely. Peaceful in a way I hadn't seen in years. And then he turned, our eyes met, and he looked away instantly. Not angry. Not hurt. Just uninterested. That was the deepest cut of all. People online always ask cheating spouses the same question. Was it worth it? And I can tell you with every broken piece of my soul, nothing was worth this. Not the attention. Not the thrill. Not the validation. Not the temporary escape. I threw away the love of a good man for the ego boost of a stranger who disappeared the moment life got complicated. I lost my husband. I lost my marriage. I lost my family's respect. I lost my sense of self. And now, months later, I live alone in a house that feels like a museum of everything I ruined. Some nights I walk into our old bedroom and sit on the floor, staring at where a side of the bed used to be. I imagine him lying there, peaceful, trusting me completely. I don't cry anymore. I think I'm too empty for that now. I know I deserve this loneliness. I know I deserve the silence. I know I deserve the regret that claws at my chest every time I close my eyes. Sometimes I wish he had screamed at me, or broken something, or cursed me out. At least then he'd still be emotionally connected. But the quiet way he walked away from me, that was the real punishment. His revenge wasn't the screenshots. It wasn't exposing me. It wasn't even the divorce. His revenge was becoming someone who didn't need me at all. And I am left here, a woman who destroyed her own home, her own marriage, her own life, wondering how I could have been so blind. People online say cheaters deserve to end up alone. Maybe they're right, because that's exactly where I am now. Fully, completely, unbearably alone. And I have no one to blame but myself.